This is my first bike in over 30 years. And most of the riding that I do are really on tar roads. The occasional gravel, nothing extreme, nothing an 800 years shouldn't handle with ease. But my problem started in September 23. A few months after I bought the bike. I was on a ride with some friends to do some light off-road trails like what you're doing now. Nothing extreme, sand road. I don't have the experience of riders of many, many years, so this is a new experience to me. Riding on sand's a new experience. At one point I noticed there was oil leaking onto my shoes. After I stopped and confirmed, I saw that it was actually coming from the front forks. It was everywhere. The wheels, the brakes, the discs, my tire, the front, my boots, the engine cover. Anyway, I did a very, very slow ride home and very, very concerned about what's going on with the bike now. So a friend contacted me and he said, listen, take your bike to Motorrad Centurion. Gave them a call on the Monday morning. They came and picked up the bike. I was extremely excited about the service. They took it away. They gave me a quotation of just under 2,000 Rand, which I gladly paid. I submitted the claim to the insurance, and the mechanical insurance paid me back within a couple of days. So there we go, problem solved. What they'd done is they told me that the seals were gone, and they replaced, the shock absorber oil and did some basics to fix it up. But there we go. 2,000 Rand later, they brought the bike back 2 or 3 days later. Everything went great. Fast forward almost a year to the day in September again. My friends and I went riding in Harties, very, very similar to what you're looking at now, and we did a bit of a longer ride. While we were on this ride, well, this is in fact the ride that you're looking at, to be quite honest. This is the ride that you're looking at. The same thing happened. The left front shock started leaking oil all over the brakes and the front engine and shoes and the whole bag shoe. I sent the bike back to Centurion BMW. They said, oh no, this is a parts claim, so don't stress. We're not going to charge you for it. The parts were clearly faulty, so we're not going to bill you for it. We're going to replace the shocks for you free of charge. Well, we're going to replace the seals, sorry, not the shocks, the seals, free of charge. We move on with our lives. Just 2 months later, in November, the right front seal failed. The same problem, the same mess, the same danger, oil everywhere. So this is now the third breakdown that I've had. This is serious. I mean, your front brakes, especially when you're on the road, these things are now covered with oil. And anyway, I didn't want to go back to Centurion BMW, to be honest. I thought, no, these guys have now had the bike twice and they haven't fixed the problem. Decided to go to Motorrad 4 ways, made an appointment, took the guys the bike, and they gave me some feedback. Here's what Motorrad BMW discovered. The dust cap seals were wrong. The spring for the dust cap seals had come off, which shouldn't have happened. The ABS wire was installed incorrectly. It was supposed to be through some gap in a hole. It wasn't. That would have in time worn. There was damage to the fork stanchions, and that in turn would damage the seals. The springs were soft and possibly the wrong ones. This could have caused the bike to bottom out and rupture the seals. In short, the workmanship that Centurion Motorrad gave was substandard. I then took the bike to a company called Blinking in Rivonia. It's a very professional fit. They specialize in BMW suspension. They gave me another report. They said that there were spanner marks on the forks, pit marks and stone chips, and evidence that the fork seals were damaged during installation. So let's talk about the dealership's response. I wrote to the complaints department and I listed everything that I mentioned so far. Now, one of the things that I must mention is that if Centurion BMW had repaired these shocks correctly the very first time, I would have had claimed from the insurance, like I did the very first time they fixed it, for 2,000 Rand. The repairs now cost me 14,000 Rand. But by now, it's 2.5 years later, my mechanical insurance only lasted 18 months. So now I have to foot the bill for this 14,000 Rand repair. Secondly, since then until now, I've only ridden 5,000 kilometers on the bike. They claimed that the damage to the fork stanchions was normal wear and tear, and a bike of this age and this condition. But the problem is, they had it a year before. They never said that to me. They never said, listen, these things are going to fail and they're going to continue failing. We need to fix this. No, they just replaced the seals and sent me on my merry way, full well knowing that it was going to fail. Secondly, they said that they quoted me for additional work, which I declined. Well, I went back to all the emails that I got from them, and there's no mention of that. I requested them to tell me what they quoted me for, and I declined. They never came back to me on that. Thirdly, they tried to blame my riding style. They said the rear shock absorber had to be reconditioned, indicating extreme use, which is really a stretch, because while the bike was at the shock specialist, I asked him to recondition the rear shock for me, because, well, the bike's there now. I'm spending the money making sure that my ride is in good nick. So like I said, I'm 56 years old. I've only really been riding for about 3 years. I don't do extreme off-roads. Most of my rides, like I said, are on tar. And in fact, I have recorded practically every ride that I've done. I have over 600 gigs of GoPro footage that indicates exactly what type of riding I do and how I do it. That's why I'm sharing this story with you. This type of gaslighting and blame shifting, I feel, is totally irresponsible. Given the feedback I have been given, it's clear that they're only interested in covering their asses. They'll send me a note saying, you're extreme riding, or we offered to do additional work which you declined. This indicates excessive usage. They even sent me a letter to say they assume that I had found out about any modifications done to the bike prior to me owning it. Now, how would I have gotten that? Like, how would I know what the previous owner did to the bike unless, he slipped it in a little note under the seat? How would I know that? The fact that they're blame shifting and the fact that they are not taking accountability and responsibility is the thing that gets me annoyed. They then offered to do a free oil change for me. I got to now send my bike to these people and expect to believe that they're actually going to do an oil change. Like, really? They couldn't fix my shocks when they had it there. And then in this latest letter that I got back from them, they say, well, you bought a 2014 bike. The bike's warranty expired in 2016. You should have found out there's really nothing we can do. But never do they say, yes, we acknowledge we've made a mistake. We acknowledge something didn't go according to plan. Maybe simply saying to me, listen, when you bring your bike for the next service, the labor's on us. We can't give you your money back. We can't recover the 14,000 Rand that you spent. But what we can do is we can give you your next service and not charge you labor. First of all, I would feel as if though I've been heard. I would feel that they've acknowledged it. I would feel that they've truly concerned about my safety and they truly are taking ownership of the problem. But trying to blame me for the problem is not taking ownership of the problem. Trying to make sure the customer takes the blame. I said to the lady in one of the email exchanges, you can win the argument, but lose the customer, which is exactly what they've done. I will never suggest to anyone to use BMW Centurion Motorrad ever again. I would, in fact, go as far as persuading people not to use that dealership. I cannot tell you how terribly, terribly angry it makes me that they just simply will blame the customer and not take ownership of the problem. I hope that you keep your wheels on the ground and stay hydrated until we meet the next time.
Hey Billy, okay, so yeah, about those springs. I mean, I shouldn't be able to just pull those down like that. I mean, that's a joke. But the reason for that is obvious. The other fork spring that I've already stripped, and this is the spring that came out. Okay, I've been in this business forever, only like 18 years. I've never seen this spring in my life. I don't know whether it comes out of a Kimco scooter or what the hell, but yeah. That's the proper spring. Okay, that's what. But that's what that should look like. This, Anga's boss. I've never seen that piece of junk before, but no wonder it doesn't work. I mean, really? So the springs will have to be replaced. God, I love this standard of workmanship. Hey? Hey? Beautiful. Anyway. But you see here, I know it's hard to pick up on the camera, but yeah, it is full of stone chips. These really bad ones. Those are bad. These are bad, and you can see the chrome work is flaking there. Yeah, that's a bad one there. You can see they've tried to burnish them out. But you can burnish to all hell and gone. You're never going to win. That's going to keep eating into the fork seal, particularly that one. That's a bad one.